SVC Media.
Okay, there's absolutely no rhyme or reason to why we do this, so we're going to wing this. We have absolutely no schedule, so let's just go with it. We're going to be talking about why me and Jess do iGaming daily and what we like about it. So Jess, I'll ask you the question and then you ask me a question and we'll go back and forth and do it that way. That sound like a decent idea?
I will roll with that.
I think that's the best way of doing it. I think we should roll with that. So I'll ask you the question first. What do you like about iGaming daily?
The sound of my own voice. No, I like that as much as I try at SBC Americas for us to offer insight into what we're writing, there's not always room for some of the nuanced discussion that comes around a topic. What I also feel like you can feel themes in news, right? Where you have three stories that all are kind of interrelated and you can link them and tell people a little bit, but having that opportunity once a week to say, hey, this trend of stories they all fit under this umbrella and here's why they fit under this umbrella and here's a conversation around that topic is just a nice way to augment, what we're doing in writing.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
How has iGaming daily developed? Like, how different is it from where you thought it was going to be?
So for me, I didn't intend for it to be a daily. My preference wasn't to be a daily, but there was a big push for it to be a daily podcast, which I kind of learned to love in a way. It originally wasn't called iGaming Daily. It was called
like 600 different things before we got there.
So originally it was called SBC Daily, and then for one reason or another, we decided we need a name rebrand. Our managing director, Andrew McCarran, loved iGaming Daily. I thought, let's have a little think tank, and it got to a month and I couldn't think of anything better than iGaming Daily. So this is how it came to be. But I think the premise always stayed the same. Once we realized we wanted to be a daily podcast, we thought, right, for it to be a daily podcast, we need multiple voices in there. We need multiple news angles, multiple regions, and just so it didn't become stale. I think I'm the only key figure throughout the whole week unless it's your day.
Until I kick you out.
Until you kick me out, because that's when I start to go stale. But yeah, no, I think that's kind of the development path, but we always kept with different areas so we can be a bit more global in our reach.
You know what we need to do now from the name is we need to get to like a good abbreviation where it's like, oh, we're filming IGAD today.
IGD?
I was thinking like EGAD, but with an I, like IGAD. No? All right, we'll workshop that.
Oh, iGod.
Oh, IGAD. That's our new catchphrase. Make a t-shirt.
Question for you. Okay, so you wasn't originally down as a guest host. That was kind of forced upon by me because when I did your SBC Americas kind of day, I felt like I was doing a dummy's guide to American law.
It's tough though. Sorry, continue with your question.
So I thought, I'm dumbing down this conversation. Let you host. But how did you feel about me flinging the hosting duties onto you? Because I don't think I actually really asked. I was just like, Jess, you're hosting. Enjoy.
I mean, I've done podcasts before, so I was comfortable hosting. I think, the hesitancy at first was, how do I be the host and also kind of the expert? And what's that balance look like? And really, I think I'll be honest, I think what neither you or I realized was what a good foil Charlie Horner is.
He is fantastic on your show. And even when he comes on the Tuesdays, his knowledge is insane. And the clarity that he speaks of is better than the regular host of the podcast.
So yeah, I think we just get in a good rapport where ours, because we're one of the days where it's usually just the two of us, it's more just a back and forth conversation. I offer some insights, he offers some insights, we ask each other questions, and that rhythm, we fell into it very easily, that in a way that I did not expect. When I'm grateful because again, like I didn't want to just be talking as you know from the times that we tried you hosting, it's just a lot of times me being like, in subsection D of subparticle C of Arkansas gaming law.
I am so happy this is an audio podcast because the trials that we did, after you explained the law, I'll point to this camera now, I was literally like, I was just, my brain went numb with all the US law. I'm improving as we go.
I've been doing this, I've been in gaming since 2008, and even now, I feel like I'm drowning in laws, and there's new things that you learn every day. Like, Google is your friend.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Not Bing.
I would love to hear how we have like each team kind of has a day. What do you think? How would you describe kind of each squad and what flavor they bring to iGaming Daily?
Oh, that's an excellent question. And how do I say this complimentary? So we have the two Teds.
That's the SBC News squad.
SBC News, yes, the two Teds, Ted Menway, Ted Clay. Them two really kind of balance themselves out because I feel like Ted Clay, he's insanely knowledgeable, and he's kind of that lovable brother that you have, where sometimes he may seem a little clumsy, but I mean his knowledge is insane, and his northern kind of voice. I have a northern voice, but I try and mask it, and he's just like, "You're right there, James. How you doing?" And I feel like that balance with Ted Menway, and people in the industry will know him really well, that again his knowledge is the best I've seen probably certainly in the European sector. We need to filter him a little bit because we could get in trouble, but he's such a character and he's such a voice to bring to a podcast, and when he kind of speaks, I stand up to attention. And also his southernness, the two Teds kind of bounce off each other.
North and south.
Yeah, and also Big Ted, we call Little Ted, we call Big Ted, Ted Menway, we call Big Ted, Little Ted is Ted Clay, just for reference. So Big Ted kind of tutored Little Ted, and it's nice to see that kind of Mufasa Simba kind of thing come to fruition in a sense. So that's kind of nice. We have Craig for the Casino Beats team. I really like that day because I've said it many times on the podcast. I worked with Craig for 3 years.
It's like a little homecoming for you.
It is a nice little homecoming. It's a nice change of dynamic as well. So I can we talk about it and we can just bounce off each other really well. And that's kind of where our podcasts lead half the time. Yes, we talk about the news and we gauge it a bit. But then there's a big element where we kind of just not take the piss, but we're just sarcastic to each other half the time, or we take the mick out of each other. So that's Craig, and you also have Danny as well for Slot Beats. He's come on leaps and bounds. He's really, since I left the team and he came on to Slot Beats, his slot knowledge has just gone through the roof as well.
First time having not met Danny, was not prepared for that bass voice.
Oh, he's deep. I thought I had a bass voice, so he's Barry White deep. But Danny's a good one, and Connor as well. He's really good at looking into kind of the information, the financial news of things, and dissecting this. And he's got a good voice on him because his football commentary comes out, his past football commentary expertise. So them three, really good dynamic together when you can get them. And we also have we have Lucia Mourinho, Isadora Macanchi, and Fernando Newt. I love their podcast because we can kind of split it into two. So Isadora has the Brazil focus, and Fernando has the Latam focus. So what we do is, sometimes if there's Brazil's been in the news recently a lot, so we've had to dedicate a lot of time with Isadora. But what we're doing moving forward now is we're doing 10 minutes of each.
Oh.
So it's Fernando or Isadora will join us for the first half, and then they'll leave, and then either or will come back to talk about the second half that we didn't talk about in the first. And I like that dynamic because it's not too much information overload. You can be a lot more concise with things, and information will begin to stick, and you still keep that multiple voices that we really want in the podcast. So love their day. And also Lou is, you meet Lou, she is a character. I mean, her sass, her meme game, her gift game is on point. If this was a video podcast, I would use her knowledge for gifts.
What's hilarious is Lou presents so, I don't mean this in a critical way, she seems very low energy, right? She's very soft-spoken and quiet, but then she says something and I'm like, that cut! Ow!
Yeah, the thing I like about Lou, so as a kind of host, you have to bring a little bit of energy to this to kind of, you sometimes have to match your guests, but if you've got guests with different levels. But Lou is, yes, she's kind of like low line, not low line, but she has that same tone. But she's so clear and she's so concise in what she says. And like you said, if there's a place where she can rip into you a little bit, she will cut deep, and it's great. Her kind of, how would you say? When you tell a joke and it just hits, it bangs straight away. That's Lou, and it's perfect.
I love too that the recurring theme of this is that, like, it's fun. We're all giving each other crap all the time, and we have kind of running jokes and things like that. Like, a podcast that's just wah, 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 wah would drive me insane. So it has to be fun.
And when you're doing it on a daily basis, I know we're saying, like, at the moment each team have got their day. We obviously want to get guests, external guests in to talk. But as a host who's doing this 4 days a week, you're doing it 1 as well, that can get very boring and routine if you are not bringing energy or jokes or people's own characteristics and just, unique characteristics into this. It's just, that's what the main aim I wanted. And that's something we've gradually, when people get more comfortable and have got more comfortable, we've started to introduce now. I'll actually give a shout out to Craig because he is one of the best at ripping into people. By people, I mean me. Also, you. I
was going to say, the sad truth is we all rip on James.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
But that's what, can I just say, I'm curious what you think. The fun, being able to be in New Jersey, to be in Toronto, and to get to sit in a circle and talk in person has been, to me, the most satisfying part of this experience so far.
Exactly, and I've got some issues with, so obviously during COVID, everyone had to go video and remote, and you see this from, I don't know what it's like in the US or Canada, but it's definitely in the UK, B2C journalism, they're still sticking to the bar being a video interview with someone for a news package. I hate that. You lose that connection, so actually, when we can do it, we can't always do it. It's not logistically possible just due to the geography and location. But when we can do it, it just brings so much different energy and so many vibes, and I absolutely love it, and I push for it as much as I can. So I love it. I haven't asked you a question in a while, though, because I've been on this one.
I dominate.
Have we missed anyone? We missed Joe Streeter.
Oh, yeah.
Joe's good. There you go, mate.
And Martin as well, Martin Elliott.
Martin Elliott is the calmest, most sarcastic person you'll ever meet in your life. And he's brilliant, and his knowledge, again, is on point and A-game.
He has such a funny delivery, too, where it's like you almost don't realize he's told the joke.
It is the cliche British humour of Martin, and I love it. If we forgot about you, sorry. And question for you. Who would be your ideal guest to join you on an iGaming Daily podcast?
It's less about, like, certainly you want the big news story, right? But I just love, like, super candid, funny people. So
just to give you time to think, mine would be Bridget Simmons from the Betting and Gaming Council in the UK. I don't know if you know of her.
I'm not familiar.
The only reason I would love to have her on the daily podcast is during my dissertation when I was doing my masters, the topic was on the decline of the traditional British pub, because we're British and we love pubs. And she was at the Pub and Beer Association at the time. She was the CEO there, and she was the first interview that I did in person as part of my dissertation. So I'd like to have that come full circle of maybe one of my first guests on the iGaming Daily would be one of my first video interviews in my masters, and it'd be Bridget. So,
you know what? Mine is similar, actually. I would love Chris Grove, who essentially was one of the foundational people behind what became Catena Media US, and is now essentially all of Catena Media as they're moving out of Europe. He was the one who kind of brought me into the broader gaming space from poker, and is just so sharp and bright and really funny. And also, like, I did speech and debate as a kid, so did he. He was infinitely more talented than I am. He's literally he's in the Hall of Fame. Well, in the US we call it forensics. They've changed it. Growing up, you were in the National Forensics League, the NFL. So he's in whatever they call it now, the NFL Hall of Fame for public speaking.
Oh, you'll get the SBC Hall of Fame, don't worry.
So, just to go down memory lane with him, and then he just has his hands in everything at all times because he's with Akias, I think is how you say it now. investing and doing those sorts of things. So he's one whose brain I always like to pick. I love picking regulators' brains because I think the way they approach gaming is the way I think gaming kind of needs to be approached, which is to not always be gung-ho, rah, 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 gambling, yay, 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 but to say, okay, what's the reasonable, responsible way to handle this, and where is the line of going too far? And I think that reflects my mindset, so I would love to have conversations with them a little more.
I'll bounce off you there. I think the interviewees I love the most, you get a lot of the C-level people that we do interview, and sometimes there's a barrier in terms of like a filter that they might not be as fully open as they'd like to be. When you get kind of like the streamer level people or the ones who don't have the PRs behind them and just speak their mind, they are the best people to interview because there is no filter. There is nothing stopping them from just speaking the truth. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but I think they're the most engaging ones.
Yeah.
Shall we do one more question?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know what? Maybe this is one for both of us. Why should people listen to iGaming Daily?
Okay, so from my perspective, when we were developing this, we was like, what is not available in the sector at the moment? And that is a podcast that looks at daily news stories and goes a bit deeper into it. We have a few podcasts out there in the sector which have a few guests on and they're a bit boring, they're too long, they don't really get to the points as much. And that's what I like about the Daily. You will listen to it, you'll get 20 minutes where we'll tell you about the news of the day, we'll do it in a fun and engaging way, and you will actually learn something about the sector when you listen to us. So that's why I think you should listen. You?
I love listening to iGaming Daily on the days I'm not on because every day is a vertical, you know, like you're like, okay, my LATAM knowledge is bad, I'm gonna go listen to these and get better. I don't think there's a daily podcast that can truly say we cover the international breadth of what the gambling industry is doing because it's such a huge undertaking.
We have currently been downloaded in over 50 countries and we only hard launched from recording this about a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
And that's impressive.
Yeah, and so it's just to be able to be that comprehensive because we have such a big team and qualified team, to me, that is the absolute draw of iGaming Daily.